And I'd be happy to repeat the entire speech.
Now that I finally thought I should record it, can you throw your info in the chat one more time now that I've turned on the recording, and then it'll at least be captured, at least your website will be captured?
Yeah, and
there we go. Perfect.
Yeah, so my Facebook site is in the chat. It also has a link to my fundraising link, but I'm also going to post my fundraising link again in the chat for everyone. Obviously, I welcome contributions. Political campaigns are not cheap, and it takes money to be able to communicate your ideas and your qualifications to voters. And so I would ask all of you if you would get behind this campaign and help me not just get on the school board, but help to ensure that our students are as successful as possible going forward.
All right. Questions for John? Don't be shy. Okay.
I actually have a question.
Please.
Hi. So I also taught at WSU Tri-Cities during the pandemic. And I was wondering, what was the biggest impact, I guess, that you saw on students in Pasco specifically? Was it having to do with technology or trouble accessing it, or was it Zoom in general?
I think the technology issue was one of the two. So the class I taught at WSU in the fall semester was World Civilization to the 16th Century. And I recorded lectures for that course, but I also had a Zoom component in which we discussed the week's material and ideas and primary sources to tie into the weekly ideas that were presented in lecture documentaries. And it was a challenge at first trying to get my students to turn on the cameras, because I really think critically having a educational environment, that's what instructors are supposed to do, is create an environment in which learning can take place. And that's really my main focus, is how to create that environment in which students feel safe and encouraged to explore ideas about our history and our culture. And I found that it was most effective when the camera was on, and I could see their faces and they could see mine, they could see each other's faces, and we could try to have a conversation virtually about these issues. And some students possess hesitancy about turning on their cameras, either because their technology wasn't working, or perhaps they were in a location which they didn't want to show. And so that was a challenge. And then the other challenge was, in the classroom, I'm pretty hands-on. So for example, with reminders, with helpful hints, with techniques for remembering and scheduling, making sure that they get their assignments in on time. But online learning is a little bit more on your own. And so I had some students who contacted me and said, Professor Kennedy, I totally forgot I had something due today or this week. And, so that was also an issue that we worked through. But those are just two examples right there. I think Councilman Lee has a question.
Correct.
Yeah, thank you. I was hoping quickly you could let us all know what your fundraising goal is for your campaign, and hopefully all the candidates that speak tonight can make that part of their pitch.
Yeah, so, well, I don't necessarily have a end goal in mind. I am a full filer for this campaign. And so if you click on that link, you'll see a variety of options that you can choose from. I've helped other candidates in the past run for elections, and they're expensive, easily $20,000 or more for a local race. I think school board races are a bit more modest than that, but they're certainly not cheap. And so any contribution that you can provide would be greatly appreciated for this campaign. It takes a lot of money to communicate your ideas, whether it's direct mail or through phone banking or text banking or signs or printing lit for canvassing or mailers or digital advertising. All of these things cost money. And all these things are designed to communicate your values, your ideas, and your experience to voters, so they're as educated as possible before they cast their ballot. So again, the link is in the chat. I would really appreciate any support they can provide.
Okay, fantastic. Any other questions for John? Okay.
Thank you,
Well,
Carl.
John, very
Thank
much.
you, everybody.
Is there anybody else, either in person or online, who has a scheduling thing and would like to kind of go fairly quickly so they can move on?
My son's bedtime is in about 20 minutes, so
Okay,
would be nice if I could get before then.
rock and roll, brother.
Thank you all for having me. My name is Jason Lohr. I'm running for Kennewick City Council, position 3, for Ward 3. Before I get started, I was going to ask Russell what whiskey he's drinking. It got me curious over here.
Knob Creek bourbon. It's Union made.
Yeah, not bad. My son's 2-year birthday party is tomorrow, so no drinking for me tonight because I got to spend all day in the sun. But thank you for having me. Like John said, I'm gonna ask for your support and for donations. I decided to run. I'm a member of IBEW Local 112. I'm finishing out my apprenticeship to become a journeyman wireman. I'm done with school and I'm just getting the rest of my hours. I felt for a while, I've been involved on my union's political action committee, as well as a delegate to the Washington State Labor Council and a member of our Renew Youth Outreach and Community Service Committee. And I've felt for a while that while labor has a good voice at the state level, out here locally, even though we have a very high proportion of union households and we're very much a working class community, that we don't have a lot of representation for working people in local government. So I want to be that representation on the city council, at least for Ward 3. My platform is pretty much bread and butter jobs and infrastructure. I believe we should update our infrastructure, much like most American cities. I believe we could use a little maintenance to make sure our services are up to standard. But beyond that, our community is growing incredibly quickly and is likely to grow even faster for a long time. I think we need to look at having more housing to accommodate all these people, and housing that's affordable at all income levels, as well as the infrastructure and services to meet the needs of that growing community without sacrificing public safety or the kind of environment that makes people want to live, work, and invest in putting a business in this community. In addition, those projects tend to create a lot of good local jobs, which puts a lot of money into our local economy. Tradespeople with money to burn it. Then beyond that, I think, I have a lot of smaller, more individual things, but I don't want to keep everybody too long as I go into my regular stump speech. I think what else I have to offer is a little bit of sanity and return to local issues in our city council. I feel like there's, in national politics all the way to the Kennewick City Council, there's some divisiveness and some focus on issues that don't really have a lot to do with the job at hand. I believe that local government serves an important function to keep the city running and to improve the lives of the people who live in it, and we should focus on those issues. I am, of course, I'll throw my fundraising and website link in the chat. I do not have a limit, and I'm a working person. I work about 60 hours a week, construction, and then campaign every night and weekend, and sometimes in the middle of the day I have to just leave, depending on the meeting. So I'm hoping to be able to make up a lot of the ground I lose by not being retired, by being able to outspin my opponent. And so far that is looking to be the case. Right now I'm trying to fund for my rack cards and mailers and getting those out, in time to make a difference before the primary. Does anybody have any questions?
I would just like to say that Local 839 is already in space and trying to get him out to more of the labor folks in the community. So we know that the person he's running against is not a friend to working people or anyone with any type of sanity. So it'd be nice to see a change in that seat.
Great.
I really appreciate that. I'm proud to carry Local 839's endorsement, as well as I honestly, this is a bit of a humble brag, but you'd be here all night if I list them all. I have pretty much all the labor in the Columbia Basin behind me at this point, and I'm very proud of that. I'm continuing to meet with local businesses and public people to get some more support. I'm also endorsed by Paul Parrish and the Washington State Building Trades. Like I said, it's a long list. I'm very proud to have a lot of community support.
Who are you running against, please?
Trumbo. So I certainly, I can also talk about the differences between me and my opponent. I'm trying to run a positive issues focused campaign, especially considering that I don't believe I'll get the same courtesy from the other side. But I'm running against someone I feel is very much not working for the best interests of the working families of Kennewick.
All right. Super cool. And there's Jason's info popping up in the chat. So great.
Thank you all for your time, and thank you very much for having me. I'm sorry I couldn't be in person.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for coming. Okay. Next on my list, in no particular order, unless there's anybody else with a scheduling conflict, is Danica Garcia. There's an actual microphone up there
Okay.
that get up on that.
I will have to use my teacher voice.
Yeah. Hopefully that will swing over to a view of you, but we'll see.
I'm not that tall, Carl.
You can adjust it.
Hola, muy buenas noches a todos. ¿Cómo estamos? Hola, buenas. Es un placer estar aquí con todos ustedes y hablar sobre la cultura de nuestro sistema educativo, sobre todo en el Distrito Escolar de Richland. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you all this evening and to talk about the future of our education system here in Richland. See, language, it's what connects us and it lets us tell our stories. So this evening, I want to share my story with you and my vision for being your next Richland School District Position 1 representative. I was raised in the Sage here in Tri-Cities. I left to attend college at Western Washington University and then pursued advanced studies in Spanish language and culture at the University of Alicante, Spain. I came back to the Tri-Cities, my home, in 2002. And after working in business for a few years, I returned to graduate school to get a master's in applied linguistics with a focus in English as a second language education. For over 15 years now, I've taught English as a second language to immigrants, refugees, and international students from over 5 continents, including at CBC and WSU, along with teaching Spanish literacy, the HEP program, GED, and Spanish as a foreign language. At present, I work for a nonprofit language school and substitute in both Richland and Pasco school districts. This experience has allowed me to work with a cross-section of our community and understand what diversity and teaching cultural competency really is. It's about understanding each other's stories and helping making meaning out of our lived experiences. I'm also a mom of 2 kids here in the Richland School District. So what's been happening this past year in our schools, it's affected me personally. Since my kids have been little, I've been involved with education from preschool and co-ops to the programs at CBC and CBC and Westside Preschool, to the church Sunday school programs, and volunteering in the elementary school. Currently, I sit on the board of our school's PTO, and I volunteer on several Richland School District committees. I believe that if we want to affect change, we must step forward and be the voice. We must advocate for kids both individually and through collaborative efforts with teachers, staff, and administrators. We need to be part of the voice that brings positive change. And most importantly, through all of this experience, I've learned that creating solutions requires listening for understanding and working as a team to get there. So I think we need to think differently about education here in Richland, considering that 85% of the jobs our kindergartners have, well, our kindergartners today, they don't have jobs, pardon me. Our kindergartners today will have in the future, don't exist today. We need to be thinking 20 to 30 years in our future as we're sitting as directors of our school district. So looking to the future is exactly what we need to be doing right now in Richland School District. Not only in terms of pandemic recovery, but looking at the longer road ahead. Despite our efforts of our teachers and staff this past year, our kids have suffered learning loss. Let me be perfectly clear, there's no judgment on my part for this. We've gone through a pandemic, it's been hard. And while our schools didn't look the same as normal, our kids were learning and our teachers were teaching. But the bottom line is that to understand what's happened here in Richland, it's going to take a lot of listening. And that quick fire judgments by some and rehashing past decisions will not help our students. We need to be looking at the future. My vision is that with Richland receiving over $13 million, much smaller than Pasco's number, and federal economic funds, which is the third tier in the next 3 years, the question that remains in our recovery plan that the district has written is how are we going to implement this? As we implement, we must be careful to make sure that their programs support student learning from special education to ESL to our high cap students. Our resources must be applied in a way that helps each student population, especially those at risk, get what they need. The programs we use are based on research best practices and provide reporting accountability. Our academic offerings need to support not just STEM, but STEAM, which is the arts and music, as well as the science and technology, and provide vocational technical education, as well as on-ramps, just apprenticeship programs. And perhaps most importantly, we need to make sure that as we're developing education and supervising as a board, what we're doing is developing critical thinking, information literacy skills, and we're improving the representation of the diverse voices that make up Richland. Equally, we need to provide social and emotional support for students by increasing counselors in schools, expanding partnerships with community organizations, and augmenting programs to provide a safe school environment for all kids. Safe schools are just as important as our academic ones, and social emotional safety is just as important as all the work we do for our fire and our lockdown drills in our schools. Kids need to be safe at school, no matter their race, ethnicity, gender, language spoken, or sexual identity. It's not the law, it's the right thing to do. So there's a couple of final points. I don't want to take up all of your time. I'm happy to talk with you about other things. A couple other major areas we need to look at with our district is improving our transparency in our communications between our stakeholders within our district. We also need to continue to make sure that we are fiscally responsible, that we manage the money that our voters have entrusted us with. Richland voters have always been passing our levies, been passing our bonds. And as we move to the future, we need to make sure that we are good stewards of that money and that the programs we implement and that we choose provide the maximum return for our students. So this is my story about how together in supporting this campaign, we can make it into our story for Richland School District. I think it's a story that provides a bright future for our students, and your support matters as we write this story together. So please visit my website at voteDanicaGarcia.com, and you can follow me at Facebook at voteDanicaGarcia. I kindly and humbly invite you to support the campaign as my husband and I have done. Our support matters. I am the only candidate with the Richland race that has a primary. And so timelines are short and we have a lot of work to do to make sure we reach all our voters and make sure that we have a good voice that can bring the heart of the education and keep it focused on our kids and their learning needs. Thank you.
Cool. Okay, questions for Danica, either online or in person?
I just want to say you did a great job with your Spanish. No, gracias. De nada.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, super cool. Thank you, Danica.
Gracias.
I've got Steve Lee next on my list, so we'll let Steve dive in if he's willing. Oh, and you got your campaign manager there putting your website up, so super.
Hey, everybody.
There we go. There's Steve.
Hey, everybody. Well, my name is Steve Lee, and I am currently proudly serving on the Kennewick City Council. My second term as Mayor Pro Tem, appointed by a vote of my peers on council in majority. I've never served in politics before this term on council. My goal in council is to bring representation to the underrepresented. I come from a history of not necessarily political pedigree. I own many small businesses. I own a cannabis business, which when I got elected made me the first legal cannabis owner ever elected to public office in history. I have engaged in heavy duty philanthropy in our community over the last several years. My wife and I get involved with as many good causes as we can. We really believe in leading by example and putting our money where our mouth is, so to speak. We have our philosophies and our principles, and we lay them bare for the community to see. I run and I do the job of a politician in the very same way. So I'm very transparent. I'll tell you exactly how I feel about something. And I'm also not under any impression that I'm always right. You know, we learn the most when we listen the most. The biggest primary job of a council person is to listen. The number one output of my hours in this position is even phone calls and social media DMs and emails from concerned citizens, numbering in the hundreds, depending on the issue. And, you know, it is a big responsibility to take all of those people seriously, make them understand that they're valued and that their concerns are real, and then figure out what to do with that. I'm pretty good at that job, I think. And so I'm coming back on council now with a record. I have a record of being, you know, 100% for the police and fire department, not critical, not questioning, but voting in support for both those organizations when the conservative members of the council haven't voted in support of the police and the fire department. I voted in support of keeping our community going in a fiscally responsible and ethically responsible manner. And the self-proclaimed conservative members of these nonpartisan positions don't have those records. We are at a unique time right now where people can, with some money and some elbow grease, unseat some people who don't really want these jobs very bad. There's a lot of people on this Zoom call that really want these positions. This is a year you can get these positions. So I'm here to help. I don't have a primary. I'm very, very lucky. If any of you need to talk about your campaign plans, your messaging, marketing, your fundraising strategy, your goals, please reach out to me. I'm a nonpartisan person. This offer is open to ethically behaving conservatives and nonpartisans alike, not just the Democrats. I really want to see our community grow in a way that makes it that my kids don't want to leave when they turn 18. You know, we need to improve this community so we retain our youth and we build it in a way that everyone that lives here feels well represented. So with that, I'll take any questions, but like I said, I'll put my cell phone number in the chat and my website in the chat. Please feel free to text me or call me or email me, and I'm here to help all of you the best I can.
Fantastic. Thank you, Steve. Thanks for all you're doing. Questions, anything for Steve, either online or in person?
Just a comment.
Go ahead.
Congratulations on the birth of your second baby.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, it is the best. I have 2 kids from the pandemic now, and they are both perfect, beautiful, amazing miracles. I post far too many pictures of them online. It's really diluting my political message, but it's more important, frankly. But if any of you talk to me for more than 30 seconds, I'm going to show you lots of pictures of 2 little beautiful girls. So, but thank you for that.
Awesome. Okay. See if I can find my, okay. So I will make an attempt here. I don't know. I thought we asked for questions, but if we didn't, are there questions for Steve? Oops. I was looking at the right thing and I pushed the wrong button. Okay. Absent questions for Steve then. Yeah, please do. And there we go. I've scattered these through the list, so you won't have to listen to me too much, at least all at once, I hope. This is a statement from Brian, and I'm going to Mian Verhey, who was not able to be here with us tonight in person, and also not on Zoom because he had some other conflicts, but he writes, hello, and thank you for reading this statement today. I wish I could be there in person. However, I had a work commitment at the time of this meeting. My name is Brian Mian Verhey. I'm running for City Council position 4 in Kennewick. This is an at-large position, which means anyone living in the city of Kennewick can vote for me. Today, I'm asking for your support. I'm running for City Council to bring a people-first approach to local government, and I strongly believe care for our residents should come first. To that end, it will be a top priority to support affordable housing with common sense zoning for multifamily housing, allowances for small or tiny home communities, as well as a strategic growth plan that will identify and address future growth needs. I also support promoting community access that will ensure that all Kennewick residents can access local services and businesses by committing to increased and improved infrastructure, including improving public transportation and pedestrian travel options. I'm committed to working with local health and safety officials to achieve a safer, healthier Kennewick by supporting harm reduction strategies, in addition to a housing first approach that addresses the growing homelessness in our region. I support programs that would give local law enforcement access to alternatives other than jailing when appropriate. Achieving this vision takes a village, and I'm in need of help. Please visit voteverhey.com to learn more about my campaign. And as you are able, please help me with the cost of getting my message to the people of Kennewick. Even a small gift as low as $5 will make a difference and show support. That's vote, VOTEVERHEI.com. Thank you, Brian. Obviously, Brian's not here to ask any questions of, but I did want to get that out to everyone here. And our next candidate that we have is Dawn Britton. And I think Dawn is attending virtually, so hopefully we can make that go.
Well, thank you, Carl, and hello, everybody. I recognize some of the names on my screen, some I don't. My name is Dawn Britton. I'm currently an incumbent with the Kennewick City Council and the mayor of the city of Kennewick. I'm completing my 12th year on council and my 4th year as mayor. When I ran for council 12 years ago, I did not have a personal agenda. I did not run for this position to enlarge my wallet, to promote anybody's agenda, no committees, political action committees. It was to serve my community that I grew up in. I was born and raised in Kennewick. I went through the school system, Westgate, Highlands, Kamiakin High School, even went to Columbia Basin College. I have 2 children, grown, of course, and I now have 3 grandchildren. I have my youngest one's 6 months old, so not not as little as Mayor Pro Tem Lee's, but still a lot of fun. I enjoy what I do. The city of Kennewick has really faced a challenging time, mainly the past 2 years, as political party ideology has seeped its way into our local school boards and city councils. And has been mentioned before by other candidates, this is a nonpartisan position, and it's nonpartisan for a reason. And that is, we represent everybody in our cities. I represent people of all different political affiliations, all races, all cultures, all genders. I just don't represent one ideology. And unfortunately, the past 2 years, there has been effort by 2 of our council members to force a specific ideology and an agenda onto our council. And it has affected how our council is viewed in the public. Always put that we have a divisive council. And actually, if you go back over the last 4 years, 92 to 93% of the time, we have had unanimous decisions. So we really do get the business done. It's when we start going down these political party rabbit holes is where that 5 to 7% change in opinion. I've always believed, as a famous quote has said, and I've tried to live by this, especially in my political years that I've been on council, is if we can agree on 80% of the things that we discuss or we believe in, then we are friends and allies. We are not enemies 20% of the time. Unfortunately, we have a couple of council members that if you do not agree with them, then you are their enemy and they will go after you at any cost. I've personally felt that. Mayor Pro Tem Lee has felt that. Speaking of Steve, as I think he's still on, 3 things have happened in the last 4 years that have been positive for the city of Kennewick. And that was the election of Steve Lee, it was the election of Jim Milbauer, and that was the election of Chuck Torelli. Common sense decisions, comprehensive thinking, looking at all sides. I would hate to imagine what our city's direction would be had those 3 individuals not been elected to the city council. We lost Mayor Steve Young, Paul Parrish retired. There's been a change, and those 3 individuals being on our city council right now are holding this council together with myself. I think I do a very good job of keeping political ideology out of what I do. I make my decisions based on facts. I try not to bring emotions into it. I try to be professional. And I try to represent the citizens of Kennewick on the best decisions that I can do, not just for my ward. I'm in Ward 1, Position 1. I am running against Greta Crawford, who was recruited by Bill McKay to run against me. There is an effort. Steve didn't go into this. I will. There is a political action committee called We Want Accountability that have actually targeted Mayor Pro Tem Lee's seat and myself in an effort to gain control of our council. Now, over the last 10 to 12 years, we have made strides in growth in Kennewick. We've had sensible amendments and growth per a comprehensive plan. We have made efforts to upgrade our infrastructure, especially our water and sewer plants. We've made a significant investment, more to come on that as well. Making it more self-sustaining instead of being subsidized by our general fund. And that requires small increases. We're talking $1 a month increase, but that is to get people the water that they want. They want the toilets to flush. We don't need an event to happen in a major way that is going to cost us millions and millions of dollars to rectify. And so we do have a good plan. I do also support our police and fire. you can't say you're for a safe community and then continually vote against resources for these individuals to do their job or contracts. We had a fire station that's under construction right now to replace Fire Station 3 out off of Columbus Center Boulevard. We had a council member in public say that a fire station really is nothing more than an oversized garage. He thought we were spending too much money on that. Fire stations are many hospitals, they're hazmat, hotels, they're apartments, they're living quarters. There's a lot more to it than that. It was just a really bizarre statement to make. But what we need to do is we need to have sensible people running for whether it's city council or school boards that are running for the right reason and that aren't running to have land use changed so land can be sold at a higher value and to increase personal assets. That's wrong. That is not why you should be running for council. We need to have people that are wanting, like all of you that are running right now, are running for the right reason, and that is to serve your community. And I fully support that. I like this format, Carl. I like the introduction piece of this, that this is not a seek your endorsement type meeting. I think it's good for our community members, our citizens, to actually put a face to a name. Being mayor for the city of Kennewick, I'm interviewed on the news frequently. I'll speak for 5 minutes and the news will cut that down to 10 seconds. And they always seem to take something out of context, and it either upsets people on the left, it upsets people on the right. Some decisions that we've made as council and some statements that were made this last year during this pandemic. Again, I try to represent the people the best I can. And I've done that for 12 years now. I want to continue to do that. And I really do appreciate the opportunity to speak to everybody, I guess not face to face, but kind of in person. And I wish everybody luck in the elections this year and try to take the high road. Going to be a lot of mud slung out there, especially in our city of Kennewick races. We're just going to do the best we can and be the adults in the race. So thank you very much. I appreciate the time.
Great. Thank you very much. Any questions for Don? Comments?
I have a question for both him and I guess Steve Lee. Just because you guys both made it a point to say that you're pro-police. And so I was wondering if as part of that, you're also pro-police reform, because you both also made a point to say that you want to represent all people. And we know that there have been some issues here in the Tri-Cities with police and different groups. So I was just wondering about your thoughts on that.
Well, Kirsten, I just want to be clear with everybody on here. I do not support any type of defund the police movement. I'll just be completely honest with you. I don't agree with that. I think it's wrong. And but if there's any type of reforms that are sensible, that make sense, I think we've already incorporated some of those. Chief Holmberg gave a very good update back in, I think it was March, I think. We have a program right now because mental health is a big aspect of criminal activity. It's just sometimes not somebody just wanting to go out and do wrong. The mental health is a big piece of that. And so each of the cities under a program that's been financed and subsidized, we have a mental health professional out on every shift in the city of Kennewick. If there is a situation where that's required, one of the things that we don't do is automatically take somebody to jail. If we respond to a call, and if it's something that the officers can direct that individual to services instead of making an arrest, we try our best to do that. We have a community cares program that allows our commanders on each shift to purchase items. Sometimes people don't have gas in the car. They commit maybe a crime, or they're about to commit a crime because they are really in desperate need. We try to help with that. And we have a homeless issue. We all are dealing with that. And, that is something that isn't going to get resolved. We don't have a homeless shelter. We do have a gospel mission over in Pasco, both the men's and women's, that we are in constant, our police department and shift commanders are in constant contact. If somebody needs to find housing, they will assist with that as well. Sensible reform, absolutely. Total defund police, move the money. I just don't support that. I'm just being honest with you. And maybe Mayor Pro Tem Lee has a different take.
So two things. I think if you Google my name and police and like Tumbleweird, it should come up. There was a very public thing where we had some issues locally where a lot of the community came to me specifically for some reason to represent those issues and bring them forward. I initially didn't feel like I got the traction I needed with those issues and made sort of a to-do of it to make sure that those issues were heard quickly and publicly in a good way. When I ran for council, I come from, again, not necessarily like this kind of background. I totally had the idea that I was going to get in there and I was going to have some stuff to be outraged by, and just to be totally frank, I thought I was going to be pissed off about a whole lot of stuff. And I was ready for the fight. And I thought that's what this was about. And I got in and I met the people and I started asking the questions and having these conversations. And when people from the community bring you their issue, you carry the water and you go to the chief of police or the city manager and say, why? Make this make sense to me so I can explain it to everyone else. And if it doesn't make sense to me, why aren't we fixing it? And so that's sort of the battle. And it turns out that in like 98% of the time, in my personal anecdotal experience, the city of Kennewick specifically, this is not other cities, this is not other communities, the city of Kennewick specifically has some of the best professionals working in their leadership of anything you could ever imagine, any company, any business, private or public. The level of ethical decision-making that's had is shocking to me as someone who is naturally distrustful of the government. It is like the big secret that I don't know if we should tell more people about, at least in the city of Kennewick, is to be a good city council person right now in our city. The job is to support the professionals in their jobs, doing good work every day and not bog it down with politics and bullshit. And if you do that, like, it's sort of like, just say good job and wait around for something to catch on fire. It's not caught on fire since I've been there. You smell smoke a few times, but like, you look at it and okay, it's not as bad as you thought. Little tweaks, little changes. Every national issue that hits, I immediately review our city with it. We have never had it as bad as any other news story town in the city of Kennewick. And when we have tripped, our professionals and our leaders have generally been accountable and been willing to consider and adapt to changes to make it better. So I'm always looking for an opportunity to be outraged. And I'm still just super satisfied in this job. I love it. The people are good. They're doing good work. I did not think I was going to be an ardent supporter of the Kennewick Police Department, but it turns out I am. And if I find reasons to be pissed off at them, I will let them know, and I will let them know loudly, and I will advocate for change. And if you find those reasons, bring them to me, because that's the job. So thank you.
All right, super cool. Thanks to both of you, and thanks for the excellent question. Let's see. I don't think we clapped for Don yet, so maybe we want to do that. Thanks, Don. We'd love to ask you more questions, but I also want to keep moving along. The next person on my list is Nikki Torres. So if you, there we go. I will. Recognizing reality.
Thank you. I am ready for challenge. Love it.
And, yeah, I think get right up on top of that. That'll help.
Awesome. I'll try to make this shorter.
There we go.
That sound better?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, good afternoon, and thank you for inviting me to be here. My name is Nikki Torres, and I am running to be your next Pasco City Council member for District 3, Position 3. I have lived in Pasco for over 40 years, raised 2 wonderful daughters and 3 amazing grandchildren. I was going to bring the grandbaby tonight with me, but you got lucky she was sick. I received a Master in Business Administration from University of Phoenix and inducted into the National Society of Leadership and Success. I am currently running for City Council because I truly love Pasco. As I mentioned, I grew up in Pasco. I've been living there for over 40 years, and both of my daughters have gone through the school system as well. And I definitely want to see Pasco is the place to raise your kids, and I wanted to continue thriving in that sense. It's the best place to live, work, and play. At least in my personal opinion, right? I'm being biased. And the other key points that why I'm running is I know the pandemic has our city was actually hit hard by the pandemic, and so I want to focus on a couple of priorities: is putting people and businesses hurt by the pandemic back on their feet, and also create a business plan to attract new businesses to Pasco. To do so, I will work with Pasco's new Director for Economic Development, collaborate with the county, Port of Pasco, and local chambers to create a one Pasco approach to economic growth. I will also ensure that Pasco's urban growth plan serves all of Pasco, not just the growing area of West Pasco. To see that all Pascoites have equal access to good schools, healthcare facilities, emergency response, safety and physical security, and shopping. Because of course, we all want our families to be safe. And I will insist that the city's budget meets the needs of all residents of our city, regardless of where they live. I will provide this leadership. I currently serve as a strategic partnerships manager for Western Governors University. Prior to this, I was a small business development officer working with small businesses, helping them with their lending and paycheck protection program needs. I'm sure you heard of those, right? And in the past, I have also served as president of the Tri-Cities Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and served on numerous boards and committees ranging from healthcare, tourism, and junior achievement. I've also served on the Kennewick Police Department Foundation. I believe that my work in our community and my professional experience makes me the best person for the Pasco City Council position 3. And I will help our city recover from the pandemic and build a stronger economy that works for everyone in our community. So I respectfully ask for your support in any way possible. Thank you again for inviting me. Again, Nikki Torres for Pasco. And you can visit my website that is also nikkitorresforpasco.com.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Questions for Nikki?
I was a little nervous. Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay. I will come and flick a little bit more of me on y'all. This is a statement from Steve Blodgett, who writes, I have lived in the Tri-Cities for over 40 years and we have raised our family here. My professional experience has been as a controller and CFO, primarily with 2 ag companies. I was also with Red Lion Hotels for a few years as the controller of the Red Lion Inn, the Pasco Red Lion Inn, and the AGM of the Columbia Center Red Lion Hotels. I'm married to the lovely and talented Ginger Blodgett and have 6 children and now 20 grandchildren. I have been retired for 6 years. I was appointed to the Kennewick Public Hospital District Board in October 2017 to replace a commissioner who resigned. I joined the board in the midst of the hospital district's bankruptcy and fight to keep the hospital open. I'm currently the district treasurer, an unpaid position, and I'm running for re-election. So that's Steve Blodgett, who's running for the Kennewick Public Hospital District Board. I probably should have said this at the beginning, but the invites, and Don kind of alluded to this earlier in his comments. The invites to this went out to everybody from Benton or Franklin County who submitted an email address as part of their filing, and who isn't in an outlying area like Calotes or Othello or North Franklin County, or someplace that is kind of outside of our little mid-Columbia area here. So just as a little bit of background information. With that, I think we'll move on to Teresa Richardson. And I forget if Teresa's in person or online. And let me
There we go. Is that better?
there we go. That is better.
Okay,
Welcome.
thank you. My name is Teresa Richardson, and I remember a few years back when I was invited to a Democrat luncheon, and it was very, very nice. I just remember, this was about 10 years ago, how kind you were all to me, and I appreciated that. And reminds me, it's not so much what you say, it's how you make people feel. And I kept in contact with several of the people from that luncheon, and it was a really delightful time. So anyway, thank you for bringing us together tonight. Again, my name is Teresa Richardson, and I'm running for Richland City Council position number 2. A few details for those that don't know me. I lived here more than 30 years. We have raised 3 sons who have graduated from Richland High School. And at one point, we were all living on different continents. My oldest was in the Peace Corps in Africa. One was in Cambodia, working with rescuing kids from sex trafficking. One was studying in Scotland, and we were in the Netherlands. So we have all come back to call Richland home and continue raising our family and investing in this community. I graduated from WSU. I was honored to be the commencement speaker at that time. I currently serve on the Economic Development Council for the City of Richland. I have been a part of many boards and volunteering for organizations around the Tri-Cities, from Boys and Girls Club to Casa Guardian Ad Litem. More information is on the website. I'm not running for personal benefit in that I am now retired, but I'm motivated to do this out of a sense of duty. We have all seen firsthand the results when city councils make a series of bad decisions. Those decisions can destroy property values, destroy businesses, destroy public spaces. Knocking on now 1,027 doors as of this morning, a constant theme emerges. Don't let what happened in Portland and Seattle happen here. Protect our way of life, our property, our public spaces. Well, I don't trust my opponents to stand for those values or to have this perspective that I can bring to the table. I want to take on that complex homeless issue head on. I've been working with homeless issues for the last 10 years as CEO of Habitat for Humanity. Worked with Republicans, Democrats, thousands of volunteers, implementing public policy, forging corporate relationships, and repairing and building hundreds of homes in our area. We made a difference for those people. I can tell you that each home dedication, their stories, you just fall in love with these people. You know that their lives are changed forever. You know that those kids will have an opportunity that they would have not experienced before. Not because they got something for free. But they found a hand up. Let me represent your concerns. Let me represent common sense. Let me sit at the table and continue to serve our community. I have the time, the energy, and I believe the unique perspective. My website is richardsonforrichland.com. If I have a secret power, it is this. In my experience with Habitat, it was listening and working collaboratively to solve problems. Thank you for your consideration.
Great, thank you. All right, questions? Yeah.
Can you elaborate what you mean about what happened in Portland and
I don't know if you could hear that, but that was a question about elaborating on what you mean about what happened in Portland and Seattle. Did that come through?
Yes, I can hear you now. So the question is elaborating on what has happened in Portland and Seattle. Well, there's been a documentary from several different news sources that indicated what happened there. My personal experience, we lived in Portland for many, many years and used to love going downtown there, getting a weekend away. We drove through there not too long ago, and it was just so sad in that the homeless tents on the sidewalk, first floor of every building was vacant or boarded up. The people that were walking around felt like they were looking like zombies. These people need help, but what is happening there and what the city council is allowing is destroying the city. I have a nephew who's a policeman there. He tells me firsthand what is going on. I've had other friends tell me who is assigned to that area to try to support those people and get them into services, that he's concerned that Portland will never recover, or if they do, it's going to be years and years away. So the concern that I come across in meeting with people is just don't let that happen here. We love being in Richland. We love the Tri-Cities, and let's enforce the laws that we have. Let's utilize the services that are available, like the Union Gospel Mission. Let's address the mental health needs, and let's get after it.
Okay. Other questions? Anything else? All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see, who I have. Next on my list is Marion Boring, who I think is here in person. Okay. Is that microphone set up? There we go.
Perfect.
And get right up close to it.
Okay.
It
Even
like-
though Jason didn't ask, I'm drinking water. My name is Marianne Boring, and I am currently on Richland City Council. I was appointed last October to fill a vacancy, and I am running now to retain the position for position 2 with Richland City Council. I will definitely keep this brief. I don't have anything prepared. I wasn't really, didn't know what to expect. This is my first time doing this and running a campaign. But Carl has assured me if I forget something, I can come back in July. So anyway, a little bit about me. I'm a business owner. I'm a wife, a mother, and the best job in the world, a grandmother. But anyway, I love the city. I've lived here for about 24 years, a little over 24 years. I have devoted a lot of my time to the city. I have been on the Richland Board of Adjustment for over 19 years. I was on Richland City Council for over 14 years. So I think, in a sense, I have proven that I am dedicated to the city of Richland one way or another. I come extremely prepared to the city council meetings and actually all of my Board of Adjustment meetings and city or planning commission meetings. I read my staff reports. I'm prepared with questions. I come with an open mind. Once in a while, I'll have some preconceived notions on how I would like to vote or what I would like to say about things. But again, once I hear the opponents and the proponents, I do tend to change my mind. So I definitely have an open mind. I have the only agenda that I do have is doing what I feel is best for the city of Richland as a whole. May not be popular with everybody. It may not receive everybody's approval, but I believe that the decisions that I make are in the best interest of the city of Richland as a whole. Let's see, what else? Again, I just don't really have much prepared. I would like to continue on. I am the voice, I feel, of Richland, of the little guy as well. I don't always go with the grain, as I don't know if some of you have watched some of the pretty Richland City Council meetings, but I have no problem going against the grain sometimes if I feel that it's important and if I feel that it's in the best interest of the community. I pull things off of the Consent agenda, I ask questions. I'm not afraid to do that. Public speaking is not something that I was comfortable with. As a matter of fact, I used to be completely afraid of it, but you know, you just have to suck it up sometimes and and do what's needed, and especially where you're needed. I have no fancy political campaign going. As far as donations, I mean, maybe I'll stick a boot outside of my driveway like the fire department does. That seems to work for them, so maybe it'll work for me. But anyways, I would absolutely, I would appreciate your support in any way possible. And again, my name is Mary Ann Boring. I'm running for Richland City Council, position number 2. And I would like to be retained and continue doing what I have been doing for the last 19 years for the city of Richland. Thank you very much. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions?
Okay. Yes, sir.
I live in Richland and I'm been appointed to the Hanford Advisory Board.
Okay.
So what's the latest and what has been told to the city of Richland regarding all the still waiting for what's going to happen?
I know that that's forever changing. We do get briefed on that information with the Department of Energy quite often. We are provided with updates on that. It's an ongoing, obviously. I mean, we've been doing this for what, 70 years now, I think. I believe that the cleanup has the full support of the city of Richland. I don't see that ever stopping. So if I didn't answer your question, I apologize, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of moving pieces.
I think yesterday, I think that was the big thing. There's a lot of moving pieces. Just hoping there's one. A lot of it's coming from federal government.
And we do get email updates of the goings on with the DOE and Hanford cleanup. So we are apprised of that. Thank you for your question.
Anyone else? Yeah, but you don't have to get close to it. You're fine.
So I was just wondering, were you on council when the manager for Richland City, the previous manager, got fired? And if you were, I'm wondering what your thoughts are on that.
Well, for number one, I do want to clarify that the city manager was not fired.
Okay.
Okay. There are some things that I can't go into just because of the executive privilege, but like I said, I mean, all of that portion of the meeting was public. My dealings with Cindy Rents were limited. I can assure you, all of my dealings with her, all of my questions, everything that I had with her was 100% positive. If I had a question, she would answer my question and then some. She would provide me additional information and additional resources that I didn't ask for, but were beneficial because she knew they were beneficial to me. I was not in support of her departure, but it really ended up being her decision in the long run to leave. I support her for that, but I do not support the notion that she was fired.
I do have one other question.
Yes.
Absolutely unrelated to that one. I'm wondering if you can keep track of what the county commissioners are wanting to do with Ben Franklin Transit and what your thoughts are on that. Have you?
I have read a little bit of the information there. It's a difficult decision. I will tell you honestly, I have not jumped into it completely. Had a couple things going on here and there, but anyway, mental health is a huge issue. We need to have money for it. We need to have funding for it. We need to have support for it. Where we get that money, I don't know. That's the big question. If there are some cuts that need to be made to the transportation program for ridership, we need to look at that. I think we need to look at everything. We also need to look at the motivation behind these cuts and where this money is coming from and how it's going to affect the majority of the people. Only once it's been reviewed and completely thought out, should we make a decision? I don't think we should just all of a sudden cut funding for one resource for another without really looking at the entire picture. Thank you.
Cool. So we have a question here that's not necessarily specific to you. And so we'll let kind of anybody who wants to jump in on it. But it's a question about if there's a plan to vaccinate the homeless population here in the Tri-Cities, or plan to at least help those folks get vaccinated. Is there anything, an effort
Carl,
there?
I can't hear the question.
Sorry.
The question was, is there a plan to get the homeless population vaccinated here in the Tri-Cities?
It came up in chat here.
Okay,
Bajo?
apparently. And that I am not aware of. I would hope that there would be. I
Okay.
mean, it's definitely a vulnerable population. I know that there are some people I see on the neighborhood app and some other apps offering rides to people that don't have rides. I think even Uber is offering free rides. So those are the type of programs that we need to get out there to those people. But as far as having the city involvement in it, I haven't heard of anything.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I have another reading assignment. This statement is from Audra Bird. My name is, and these are just all her words, so I'll just read them directly off. My name is Audra Bird, and I'm running for Richland School Board, position 1. I'm a mother and foster mom of 6+ children. I have 5 at home, 1 in heaven, and multiple other children throughout the Tri-Cities that I have loved and cared for throughout the years. I was a certified K-12 teacher before becoming a stay-at-home mom, and I absolutely love being in education. I'm running for Richland School Board because I want to give families voice and choice. I want to give you voice and choice for your student. It's not enough to just get students back in the classroom without limitations, but to make the educational experience in Richland schools better than it ever has been, with engaging, relevant, and diverse learning opportunities. After an unprecedented year of chaos, I will provide leadership in helping our students and staff heal from the physical, mental, and educational trials of COVID-19. I will work to establish an environment where students get the services, care, and support they need to thrive by advocating for families to have their educational preferences heard and honored by giving families voice. This past year, over 1,000 students left Richland School District because their needs were not being met. I'm a foster mom and work regularly with underprivileged children in our community. This past year, the educational gap between privileged and underprivileged kids has grown exponentially, and many kids, like my foster son who lives with his bio mom, have literally lost a year of education. It is devastating to me and completely inappropriate that these kids did not receive adequate services this whole last year. I also want to give families choice. Rather than pushing a strict college-only path, I want to help our students have additional individualized career readiness educational options, including WorkSource, technical programs, and military prep. I also want to help develop more school choice programs, including dual language programs, and better supporting our current Three Rivers HomeLink, Rivers Edge, and Pacific Crest Online Academy. Families deserve to have educational choices and have their voices heard. I want to hear your voice too. Feel free to reach out to me and email me or call me to tell me how I can help advocate for your child. So that's from Audra Bird. Next on my list is Gail Brown, and I've been in dialogue with Gail, and I forget if she was going to be here online. I don't see her or in person or online.
I'm here. Hi, my name's Gail Brown, and I'm let me get my video back on. I thought I'd put it on. Okay. Got it?
Go up on the screen.
You don't have to. It doesn't want to come up. You probably don't want to look at me anyway. My
Sure
name's
we do.
Gail Brown, and I am running for position 3 on the West Richland City Council. I'd like to come in and say I'm organized and effective leadership, but today has not been that day. In fact, I ran to this meeting because if Mr. Baker had started reading my statement, he would have noticed it was a draft and pretty not well done. So I decided I'd better come in and read it myself, the finished one. I've been a citizen of West Richland for 62 years. I was born here in 59. In 1960, it became a city of 1,347, and I was one of those. I have enjoyed my childhood. I enjoyed raising my kids. I have grandkids now, and have had 5 different homes in the city. We are now over 15,000, and I'm worried that the city doesn't have enough of a plan. For me, it's like deja vu. We've been here, we grew. There was some bad, there was some good, and it feels like we're doing it all over again, where we should have had a plan. And I have to agree with Teresa Richardson. I am currently working with Habitat on a project out here. My mission, and I've been following the housing initiatives and so forth, is to make sure that we have affordable housing. I'm currently the only one, and have been the only one for many years, that lives in our established neighborhoods. And I want to see those family friendly. I want to make sure that those do not go to blight or crime. And I want to see some of the taxpayers' money go back into those areas. I think it's a time to solidify, as we're growing like this, our policies and prepare for new ones. We're just at the growth with this 15,000, but it's going to be very important as we explode out on that ranch that we have policies in place to handle this type of growth. And while we are probably planning for that new growth out front, I don't think we're getting the plans made in the back end. I've heard about homelessness today. We've seen that out here. I don't think most of the rest of the council believes that, but I had one living in front of my house for about 2 weeks. I did ask him to move. Now he's around the corner. So we do have it, and we have it in all of our cities. And we need to deal with that. I don't know if anybody follows the 1220 bill, this legislature, but that has taken a lot of the city's control out of where we can not allow and allow homeless housing and so forth. We need to get prepared for some of that. I attended a homeless workshop several months ago, and the first thing the attorney said is make sure you have policies around your homelessness. They're getting a lot of lawsuits coming in. The cities aren't prepared and don't have proper policies, and they're winning. And while these homeless individuals might be only getting 1,000, the attorneys are coming in with very large bills. So we need policies in place to adjust for that. And we need to plan on when they come in, what we should do. There is a recent webinar I also went to that talked about some 5090 money that had come through right before this pandemic, which allows for 0.1% to go to / mental health housing. 40% of that is allowed mental health housing, very flexible money. I don't know if that's something the county should go for, but it is an option. I think that we need to go to ways that will help pay for some of these things. I know that they have some tax credits. We have not used any of that. I think we think that we're small enough, that we're kind of this bedroom community, that these issues aren't going to hit us. And I like to differ that idea. I too have worked with homeless and housing, and with this growth, if we're not prepared, I'm kind of worried that it's just going to run us over. So my big push here is that we need planning. We need planning on the back end of these growing cities as well as the front end. And that's it. Does anybody have any questions?
Questions for Gail?
Yes.
I don't see or hear anybody. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, we should have at least one more. I think I dropped your name out of my head, but you're a candidate, is that right?
No.
Okay. Okay, all right, somehow got that idea in my head. Let's, I know Kate is here. You wanted to come up and?
I'm a candidate as well.
Okay, okay, I got a lot of folks in and out, and so, do you want to go? Kate's ready for you to go, so, either one. Yeah, okay, I'll come help.
I'm short, Carl. You know this.
I do.
Vertically challenged.
Okay, get close to it.
All right.
Perfect.
Where's my camera?
Here.
Oh, okay. So
Thank you all very much. I apologize for being late. I was actually at a UFCW 1439 meeting that they were having for the Twin City workers. They are doing well. They are in the process of bargaining. So very excited to hear that. I was one of the local elected officials that decided that I wanted to openly come out in support of the workers to make sure that they were able to have the choice if they wanted to unionize. So apologies again for being late. But like I said, or like Carl said, my name is Kate Moran. I am currently on the West Richland City Council, and I am running to be mayor of West Richland this year. Apologies, I'm a ham sometimes. So some of the big things that I'm running on actually relate to what I've been running on since I started back in 2017. And to get to that, we have to look at where I was before I came to West Richland. I was in the Navy for 9 years. Well, a couple months shy of 9 years, but we can round up because it's more than enough time to round up for 9. So I was a nuclear reactor operator in the United States Navy, and we couldn't be political. So when I moved up here after the Navy, I wasn't sure what to do with my life. I didn't really have something to fight for. And when I moved into my house, I realized that there are a lot of local things that actually I might be able to change just by figuring out who to talk to and figuring out what meetings I had to go to. The problem was I had no idea how to do that because it was very difficult to go through the website and to find out the correct information. So that's how I started down the path in running for council in 2017. And I did run in 2017. I didn't make it, but I got very close. In 2019, I ran again and I did win. And one of the big things that I want to focus on, as always, of course, is transparency, because there is this necessity to make sure that all of the voters and all of the people that live and work in a community understand how the rules are made, who makes those rules, and what they can do to change those rules. And one of those rules that I'm hoping that we can at least discuss more openly at council meetings is a change to the manager council form of government. As Councilmember Brown said, we are currently past 15,000 people living in the city of West Richland. And that's about the time where you really want to look at going to a manager council form of government. Currently, West Richland, if you're unaware, has a mayor council form of government. That means that the mayor is the head of the executive branch of the government. They're the CEO of the city. And then you have the 7 members of council that are the legislative branch. And they're separate, but they're equal branches. When you go to a manager council form of government, that's when you have 7 council members, like in Pasco and Kennewick and Richland. And then amongst themselves, they vote who is going to be the mayor, which is, dare I say, a glorified figurehead, but nonetheless, it's slightly more of a job than the other council members have. But then you have a paid professional who has a formalized education and experience in managing a city that is growing, being in charge of your community. And I think right now, we need to have that at the level that we're at in the city of West Richland, because we are growing by leaps and bounds. And unfortunately, we're growing in a way, and I agree completely with Councilmember Brown, we're growing in a way that it doesn't quite work well, because what we're doing is we continually are adding more and more residential, but we're not getting a lot of sales tax in from commercial and from industrial, light industrial at this point, because we're not that big yet. And when we have that, we have to depend solely on the sales tax from selling homes and from property taxes. And I don't want to do that. I want to make sure that we have a vibrant, growing community that has a lot of commercial and light industrial in it, so that we can support our communities like the established communities areas that are in the northern section north of Van Giesen, the Brotherhood, where again, just like Councilmember Brown is saying, they're getting left behind. All of the good things are going to the new places where we're sprawling out further and further and getting all of these newer houses with these larger lots. I would like to make sure that our established communities are being taken care of, and that their tax money is helping them out just as much as it's helping out the people that are just moving to West Richland for the first time. Thank you. And the third thing is, I think that we really need to focus on more communication and more cooperation with the regional organizations like Benton Franklin Council of Government. I'm currently on the board and also on the Benton Franklin Economic Development District. I think that if we work together and not siloed so that each city is its own, and understanding that West Richland is part of the Tri-Cities, we're the fourth city, I think that we can become a more cohesive area, and we can make sure that all of the cities are growing well together and that none of us are sprawling too far, and that we can support each other in a way so that we can all benefit. And that is why I am running for mayor of West Richland. I have a website that is under construction right now. It is www.kate4westrichland.com. And that's all words, not letters. And I also have my Facebook up right now. If you just go onto Facebook and you search for Kate for West Richland, you'll be able to find that. And at this point, my donation online is in the works. It should be up and running soon, but I can finally take checks and cash. So with that, I would like to say that I would love to have any support from any of you. If you know anyone that lives in West Richland that you think might be interested in talking to me, I would love to talk to them. And at this point, I will answer questions.
Super.
Questions?
Questions for Kate? Questions from online? Okay.
Okay, go.
Apparently you answered them all.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Well, I appreciate this opportunity, even though I almost got missed for this opportunity.
Apologize for that.
I do appreciate the invitation. I love to be able to go out and tell people what we're all about. I'm not the greatest politician. I didn't get in here to, politics is not my thing. What I am is an advocate for children. That's what I've been my whole life. It's what I probably wanted to do from the very beginning. When I was just 4 years old, when my brother was just 4 years old, I taught him to read, and when he got into kindergarten, his teacher was really upset with my mom because she said that she did her job for her, what was she supposed to do in kindergarten if he already knows how to read. And then my mom said it wasn't me. My first grader came home and taught him everything she learned for the day. And that is the first time I remember wanting to be a teacher, and that was my dream my whole entire life. So I am a teacher. What's really sad is I can't even teach in the district that I live in. I was a stay-at-home mom for several years. Stay-at-home mom is a term that I use loosely. It is my greatest joy, but I'm also a very busy person. So I have been a general contractor for 5 houses. We own our own business. So there's lots of other things that go into that stay-at-home mom thing as well. But I've enjoyed raising my children. We've also been a foster parent for 13 children over the course of 13 years. I did that while I was on the board. And once again, I think I spread myself a little bit too thin with foster parents, substitute teaching, and being the mother of 2 special needs children. So I have 6 children, and then my niece lives with us. We don't even hardly say how many children we have because it's changed so drastically throughout our lives, depending on what child we have at the time. But I do have 2 children in my home right now that have an IEP, and I think that's important. Our kids with IEPs were hit harder than anybody else in this pandemic. And that was rough. Our kids, the next kids that got hit the hardest were our kids of poverty. And so I am an advocate for those children. I want to make the world a better place. And I feel like that's what my life mission has done. I have served on the board for 8 years. I had a group of moms come and say, Amy, we need a mom's voice on there. We need a voice that will help us get what we need. At the time, we really struggled with curriculum. We really struggled with a good culture in Pasco. The teachers were kind of afraid of the superintendent, and it just wasn't a pretty picture. And it's what led to the strike in Pasco. And it was kind of funny because of the strike, the teachers asked for literally almost verbatim my political, my first stance on what I wrote, we needed in Pasco. I had been volunteering in the schools and knew what we needed. I knew what curriculum we needed. And that's exactly what the strike was on. If we had had leaders at the time that were willing to listen, the strike would not have happened. And that's what we have made a goal of doing ever since then. I'm happy to be here. I want to share a letter I got with you today. I can't say any names. I'm not even going to give any details, but it was a student that said, "Can you help me? COVID hit my family hard, really hard. And sometimes we didn't even have enough to eat. And I had to work and I'm way behind now. And I'm not the only one, but I need help. And even if you won't help me, can you at least try to help others like me?" And as I read this letter, I just cried. Immediately, we were on top of giving this student the help that he needed. But that's why I'm here. And that's why I want to be on the school board. I am running for District 5, the same one that John Kennedy is running for as well. There are 3 of us running right now. Amy Freeman Phillips. Okay, so I was born in Pasco, lived there, and I grew up in a small, if any of you know Basin City. So I grew up in Basin City in a double-wide trailer on a farm out there. And then went to Connell High School. So I lived in Franklin County for the first 18 years of my life, moved away for 18 years, and I've been back 11 years. So you can do the math to see how old I am. So I still have 3 children in school. When I started this journey, my youngest entered kindergarten, and I plan to go back to teach full time. Talk about a whole flip of my life. I asked myself, what could I do the most good in? And even though I love to teach, I chose to serve on the school board. I teach in Richland School District now. I do long-term subbing. I do some subbing. And with 2 special needs kids, it's a good choice for me. They take extra work. And one of them that is the greatest work is my niece. She was a drug baby and she has had a very traumatic past. And so we work quite a bit with her. Those things really help me connect with kids on the board. I have highly capable kids. I have special needs kids and I have kids in between. And it's so important for me to do that. I'm the only mother on the board. And another thing that is critical, I'm the only mother with current kids. We have a grandmother on the board that's had kids out of the house for many, many years, but she is no longer running. There's a good chance I might be the only woman on the board after this election. And there's a chance that there might be all men on the board. And I hope that doesn't happen. I believe very strongly that the female voice is very important and in everything, but especially in the lives of our school children and in our district and for teachers. I can't believe how powerful it has been for me to say, I know we are not doing that to teachers. You cannot ask that. We had a doctor on the board at one point. Well, we just have teachers go blah, 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 blah. And I said, hey, you wait a minute. No, he was a good guy. You can't do that to teachers. You have 3 secretaries that do whatever you want. A teacher doesn't. Until we hire them as secretary, we are not doing that to teachers. It's in a really powerful position to be able to represent both students or teachers and students and the needs of students and parents. And I think that's powerful. I ran on 3 things initially when I ran 8 years ago, or 8 years ago. And one was student achievement. That's my highest priority. In my voter statement this year, that's what I decided. I just need to be held accountable for what I've done. And so the things that we've accomplished for student achievement, we now have strategic plans with measurable outcomes with only 5 goals that are very known instead of a 2-page front page document that not one teacher could speak to. We have state-of-the-art school reviews at every school, probably one of my greatest accomplishments on the board. Every single school the board goes to, we can only have 2 board members, and the schools report on what they have done, teachers report, students report. It has been a powerful thing. At first, the schools were very worried about doing it, but they said it was so great to see how supportive we were. I found that if you positively support people, they rise to their potential. And that's what we have seen in our schools. I probably shouldn't go through all of these. So we have superior hiring practices, academic excellence through professional learning communities, which are so much stronger, policies that ensure regular curriculum review and replacement. All of the curriculum since I've been on the board has been replaced. and some of it has been reviewed and replaced a second time. It doesn't matter if it's a fast changing world. We have to be prepared for that. Policies that ensure, or excuse me, we have a dual language expansion program that enables every child to graduate with, if bilingual, if desired. We're not there yet, but we are getting there. My children are all bilingual. My husband only speaks Spanish to them. And what a blessing in their lives. My daughter is currently teaching bilingual kids, or excuse me, English as a second language kids right now as she finishes her student teaching in college. So I just feel like I feel like every student in the United States should be bilingual. I'm not. I have worked at it. I have tried to learn Spanish, but my Spanish is not great. I understand better than I can speak. I also think there are also now more nurses and counselors in school, because we know the importance of treating the whole child. We've also we have so many more early childhood education opportunities for our kids, especially in our higher poverty areas. Transparency has increased dramatically. We have live board meetings, and we did it long before COVID. Thankfully, it really helped COVID out. And we have community forums now, so the community can speak, and more opportunities at the board. You know, the year before COVID, we had 7 of our schools recognized by the state of Washington for growth, and that is not a small task. You know, the schools in Pasco have a long way to go. I want you to know too, Pasco School District, I don't know if you know this, is now the biggest school district in all of Tri-Cities. We have also the highest child to adult ratio in all of Tri-Cities. We need good people to be on the board, and it is so important. I am here to fight for our kids. I am here, my whole mantra has always been, every student meets their full potential. No matter what we have to do to help that child get there, every student should be able to meet their full potential. So I would love any support that you would be willing to give me. I would love to, excuse me, I would love to be able to serve our students for another few years. Thanks.
Okay.
Questions?
We have one in the chat here, asking your position on DEI training, diversity, equity, and inclusion training for teachers.
You know, we've already been working on DEI training in our schools, and it's really important that we, you know, in my classrooms, I have one rule. I don't believe in a big long list of rules that kids can never read. I have one rule, and it's one that my husband lives by as well, and it's to be kind. And honestly, if we were all kind, can you imagine what a world we would live in? It would be a beautiful world. And I think diversity, equity, and inclusion has a lot to being kind. There's a lot more to diversity, equity, and inclusion than just being kind, but I absolutely believe in it. We worked on it as a board. We will continue to work on it as a board, and it is one of our priorities.
Great, thank you.
Is there anything else?
Other questions for Amy?
Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I have one last reading assignment, and I'm missing a couple of candidates, but let me get my reading assignment in first, if that's okay. I have Kate's permission, so it's okay. This is a statement from Gretel Crawford, who's running for Kennewick City Council, Ward 1, Position 1. Hello, and thank you for the opportunity to share with you why I'm running for City Council for Position 1, Ward 1, against the incumbent, Don Britton, who has served since 2010. Due to a prior commitment, I'm not able to be with you in person tonight, and I don't want to miss the opportunity to share my passion about growing our community. My name is Gretel Crawford. My maiden name is Gretel Hovde. I moved here with my family in 1982 from the Yakima Valley. I'm the third of 4 girls, and we all graduated from Kamiakin High School, where my sister, Katrina Kuchkow, still teaches high school math. My husband, Scott, and I have raised our 3 boys here, and it is our home, and we care about its future direction. Scott and I have been involved in this community through various coaching positions, including Grid Kids football, Kennewick baseball, youth soccer, AAU basketball. Having good infrastructure and facilities for our kids is a priority for me, as well as other youth programs and outlets outside of athletics. Our youth are the future, and we need to provide them with the tools and infrastructure to become the best that they can be. I'm a wife, mother to 3 boys, but I'm also a business person. I'm the founder and owner of Gretel Crawford Homes. I've been in business over 23 years and have been building custom homes for about 18 years of those. Perhaps you've enjoyed one of my homes during the Parade of Homes that is put on by the Home Builders Association each fall. I have most recently been awarded the Best in Parade entry the last 2 years running and swept every category or almost every category with my entry. I have a strong attention to detail and know what it takes to be successful and get things done. I have a vision and experience in development and construction. I have a vision for our city and I'm ready to go to work to get things done. One of the reasons that I'm running is because I came interested in what was happening downtown with Columbia Gardens and the Willows. I had a few meetings with city officials and city members and believe that the Willows, Columbia Gardens, and Clover Island are a community diamond in the rough. I'm so excited about what that area can be to our community as a whole. I will work to finish the job that was started 16 years ago in 2005 and stop the waste of taxpayer dollars. I will work to develop this area to come alive for everyone to enjoy, ride bikes along the river's edge, bring our families and pets to enjoy one of Tri-City's great summer days, or relax with friends and enjoy a new restaurant or tasting event. I believe that there should be dining as well as retail establishments, possibly a small local concert venue. I believe that the downtown area can safely be connected to this area and will enhance and revitalize the downtown area and its small businesses. One of my goals is to bring together the port and city of Kennewick to partner and develop our river shores now and into the future. I have big ideas and big dreams. I always have. When someone tells me I can't do something, that is when I really get to work. I know how to make visions come alive and will work collaboratively with a wide variety of people to make it happen. That's what I do. I'm ready to give back to this community with my business experience, my ability to coordinate numerous groups of people toward a common goal, and vision for making our community the best in the area. A vote for Gretel Crawford will bring a fresh voice, energy, and a can-do attitude. Ask people that know me. Google my businesses, which also included It's All in the Details retail store and my development buildings on the corner of Union and 26th Avenue in South Kennewick. I have worked hard to get to where I am. I'm strong, tough, smart, but fair leader, and you will want me on your team. Thanks so much for your time and the opportunity to get to know me. Please visit my website, www.votegretel.com, to learn more about me, my campaign, and goals. You can also Google my opponent. You will read a different story. You get to decide what you want for Kennewick leadership. There is another candidate running, but I do not know anything about him. Thank you for your time and the opportunity to tell you a little about myself, Gretel Crawford. So that's Gretel's statement. Has the fist fight erupted yet over who's next in the back there? Okay, this is Aaron Steiner. Come on up.
Lowering the microphone, yes. Thank you. Well, not bad. Come on.
All right.
All right. First of all, I want to give a big thank you for all of you for coming out here tonight, and for those of you that are able to join online as well. Thank you, Carl and Kim, for being our gracious hosts as well. For those of you that maybe don't know me yet, I hope you will after this. Hi, I'm Aaron Steiner, and I'm running for Kennewick School Board position number 2. There are 2 others that I'm running against. That would be Gabe Galbraith and James Langford. So kind of wanted to give you a little bit of a background on myself. And some of you may be wondering, like, I know her face. Where do I know her from? And I know a lot of your faces too, and we're going to get to that. So I am actually a transplant to the Tri-Cities. I was born and raised in St. Louis, Missouri. Go Cards. That's right, Kate. She gets it. I graduated from Drury University in Springfield, Missouri, with a bachelor's degree in both math and physics, with an emphasis in astronomy. And while I was attending college, I found kind of one of my true passions, and that's education, because one of my jobs in college was working for a hands-on science museum called the Discovery Center of Springfield. I did outreach work for them. So I was in people's classrooms. I had students coming and visiting me, and I kind of fell in love with it. I kind of fell in love with this informal science education world. After I graduated, I moved back home to St. Louis and was an astronomy expert for the James S. McDonald Planetarium at the St. Louis Science Center for a number of years. I developed some curriculum for the planetarium and also did outreach while I was there. In 2009, I moved out here to Kennewick, and so I've been in Kennewick ever since. I moved out here to work for LIGO. Some of you may have visited that, may be familiar with that. That's the Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatory, which is quite a mouthful, so we just call it LIGO. Not Lego, but that would have been fun too. And I did outreach for them as well. And so if any of you have students in the area, there's a chance they may have seen me at LIGO at one point, or maybe at a community event representing LIGO back then. I moved on to a very brief stint at a Montessori school, Children's Garden Montessori. I was there for just a brief moment, teaching first and second grade science, math, and art. And then I applied to Columbia Basin College when their planetarium opened back in 2012. I've been there since 2013 as I joined them as the planetarium outreach specialist. And then back in 2019, I was promoted to director of the planetarium and the observatory. So now maybe some of the light bulbs are coming on. I know maybe for some of you, there's a very good chance if you have students anywhere in the Tri-Cities or even beyond, I have seen your kid at an event, at a field trip, somewhere in the community. I like to say that I don't have children of my own, but I have thousands of kids because I have seen literally thousands of children since my time here in the Tri-Cities. And as far as community service goes, I've served locally as a board member for Hands In for Hands On Tri-Cities. I also served briefly for the IDEA committee, that's the Inclusivity, Diversity, Equity, and Accessibility Committee for the Pacific Planetarium Association. So all of that probably gives you a pretty good idea that I'm pretty passionate about STEAM, very passionate about STEAM. And so one of my main focuses for running for school board is to ensure that we have quality science-based education. And that it does include the arts as well. I want to make sure the A is definitely part of that STEAM. And I already, thank goodness, I've gotten to know so many wonderful educators here in the Tri-Cities and already have some of their endorsements for my campaign, which is fantastic. I do want to push for quality, equitable, and accessible STEAM education and curriculum. And so that kind of goes into my second point is that my other focus is equity and accessibility for all. During this pandemic, you probably can guess that the planetarium has not been open, unfortunately, but fortunately, CBC kept me on. They reallocated my hours temporarily to the campus's Disability Support Services group. And so for the last year plus, I've been working with them, helping students to get access to their textbooks online. I ran their Adopt a Family program over the holidays. I've been learning a lot. Let's just say I've been learning a lot. There's a whole lot of work that goes on behind the scenes to make everything equitable and accessible to all. And I really want to continue that as school board director. I have some scribbled notes here. I'm trying to make sure and I don't want to take up too much time because I know we're nearing the end of the night here. So I did want to mention that I want to hear from you. I know so many in this community already. Maybe some of you know me, but I want to get to know more of you. There are a lot of ways that you can contact me. I've got Facebook set up. That'd be facebook.com/Erin4KSD. I also have a website, Erin4KSD.com. You can also email me at, let me hear it, Erin4KSD@gmail.com. And if you're here tonight, I do have some business cards. Feel free to come up to myself or my friend, other Carl in the back that has this information on there. And I also have a link to my donation page. That would be raisethemoney.com/ Oh, good job. Yes, Erin4KSD. So I just want to give a big thank you again for even just listening to me tonight. I really appreciate it. There was, I think a little bit earlier on, a question, I think Steve Lee, I think you were asking about fundraising goals and if we could all address them. I just to let you know, I have full filed in Kennewick and I don't have a specific goal in mind at the moment for as far as fundraising, but you know, it would be really nice to meet that 5K limit. We're halfway there as the song goes, give or take, but meeting that goal would be fantastic and would really, every penny that gets donated is going to go right back into get the campaign, signs and door hangers and all that fun swag, maybe some t-shirts, I don't know. So yeah, I'm going to cut it. I don't want to go too much longer, but again, thank you for the opportunity to talk to you tonight. Let me know if you have any questions. And if you're here tonight, please come up and talk to me. I'd like to get to know you a little bit better too. So thank you so much.
Awesome, thanks. Hey, questions for Aaron? Okay.
Oh, Kate, yes. Great question. So if you have seen some of my logo maybe on the Facebook page or my website, I have an image of a rocket, like a Saturn V, or it's a space shuttle. It's a little space shuttle. And not only does that kind of harken back and pay homage to my background in astronomy and space science, but I kind of look to that as a symbol of strength, of human ingenuity and curiosity. In fact, I've run several summer camps over the years, and we call that the Curiosity Camp. And so, yeah, that symbol means a lot to me, not just as, you know, hey, I'm Aaron at the planetarium, but no, it's a symbol of ingenuity and strength and curiosity, and that's something that I want to maintain throughout my campaign as Kennewick School Board Director number 2. Anything else? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't address that. You're right. That would be Molly, last name Holloran. Okay, I wasn't sure how to pronounce it. Molly Holloran. She helped me put that together. So you'll be seeing that logo on some yard signs that we're going to be getting out here pretty soon. So anything else?
Okay.
All right. Thank you again.
Thank you, Aaron.
Not a problem. Sure. Hi, I am Scott Rogers. Thank you very much for hosting this. I am running for Kennewick School District, position number 1. And the reason I'm running is I feel a strong I feel strongly convicted to give back to the community in the way that I was afforded opportunities that if my parents and my community did not sacrifice, I would have never had. There are a couple of things that's motivating me to run now as opposed to later. But first, I will let you know that I have been in the Tri-Cities for 15 years. It's the longest time I've ever lived in any one place. I grew up in North Georgia, Southeast Tennessee, born in South Carolina. I know a little bit about racism and the history of racism. We can talk about that offline if you would like. And you know, education has been very dear to me. I enjoy academics. I actually was the first in my extended family to go to college. And when I say extended family, I have 71 first and second cousins, to give you an idea. And when I get to college, I really enjoyed it. I crammed a 4-year degree into 6 years. I did do bachelor's in chemistry, sociology, and economics in the math minor. I got a master's of business administration with an economics concentration, graduate certificate in internet development applications, another grad certificate in pharmaceutical technology management. When I got here, I did a JD. I'm an attorney in town. I practice law here. A couple of years ago, the governor appointed me to the Washington Medical Commission, where I serve as a medical commissioner there. But since I've been here, I continue. I enjoy taking classes. I did the CBC biology series and anatomy and physiology. Took some computer science courses at WSU and just got a letter through the mail yesterday that I was accepted to their MS computer science program. So education is something that is near and dear to me, but it has afforded me opportunities that I would have never had. And I want to make sure that our children and the next generation have the same opportunities that I had, not only in academics, but on debate, in arts, in band, in choir. And so one of the things that motivated me to run now was this recent spate of cutting some of the performing arts, some of the choirs from the local school board. But I'll tell you another thing that really motivated me to run now is a trend that I saw back when I was in the Deep South, back when I was in Chattanooga, the buckle of the Bible Belt. And that is the anti-intellectualism, anti-science, anti-knowledge movement that is afoot. Make no mistake, there is a slate of candidates who are intent on taking over the school boards to remove some things from school. They don't want to teach about slavery. They don't want to teach about sex ed. And I met a lot of those slate of candidates last Tuesday at their rally. I had one of them tell me that the vaccines are a hoax. All it takes is hydroxychloroquine. This person wants to serve on the school board. There was one gentleman who stood up and said, well, if they can teach critical race theory, then the Blacks ought to let us teach white history. That's a direct quote. They also talk about wanting to take certain programs out of the schools. Now, they're very concerned. They will lead with the parents should have a choice over their children's education. I agree, but you know who else agrees? The United States Supreme Court. And this goes back to cases from the late 1800s, from the very advent of our modern public education system. Parents have a choice. If you don't want your child to be in a sex education class, call the school. They'll take them out of that class. If you don't want your child to learn about Big Bang or evolution, call the school. They will take your child out of the class. If you don't want them to teach your children about STDs, how to avoid being a victim of sexual molestation, call the school. And we have a great big safe space where they don't have to hear about those awful things. But I'll be damned if I let anybody take science out of our schools and take arts out of our schools and prevent us from teaching our children what they need to know, not only to get a job, which is a very important part of school, not just academics. I support all the technical training, electrical, welding. We need more of that. Not everybody is bound to college. Not everybody should be. But I will not stand by and let them remove curricula for the rest of our students. So that's the second thing motivating me to run. And with Scott Rogers, I ask for your vote for Kennewick School District Position 1. Thank you.
Yay. Like them.
Well, good Scott last, right? All right. Questions for Scott? Did I miss any other candidates?
Yes, sir.
Oh, I hear a voice. Yeah, right.
It's actually a couple, Carl. I can hang on just a few more minutes, but also Shawnee Fitzgerald. I inboxed you directly about an hour ago, but I can hang on just a little bit longer.
Go.
This is
That's a candidate, I believe.
and I'm also waiting.
Oh, do you have, Pamela's got a question? Okay.
I just have a comment in general. I like when a candidate really tells you what they're.
Great, me too. Okay, let's go ahead and hear, I think, Shawnee, is that right? Did I see that right? Go right ahead.
Yeah, you did. Great. I had a pleasure of meeting you last week on Friday. I think you were camped out outside my salon, and that was a great initiative. Yeah. Nice to see you again. Sorry I couldn't make it in person. However, I'm Shawnee Fitzgerald. I'm a resident here in Richland. My family And I moved here for my husband's position as a nuclear engineer out at the Bechtel at the Hanford site. Since then, I've put my business skills to the test, restarting my business here in Richland. And I've raised 3 children in the Richland School District. I believe I know Mrs. Is it Mrs. Stein from Children's Garden. My daughter went to school here and she's currently a freshman at Richland High. I am a huge advocate of education as well. And I'm so excited to be running for Richland City Council position 1. I believe in putting my actions to my words. I've been a huge advocate in this community, like I said, for over 10 years since we've been here. And I am also the MLK CBC Spirit Award winner in 2020. I won that award because of my dedicated community service to the underserved and the underrepresented in this town. I am on the board for the My Tri 2030 Inclusion Council, as well as the Tri-Cities Regional Chambers Board. I have my own women's organization here, which helps women and children to become better leaders and to provide them with needed resources such as scholarships, educational training, literacy, and also financial literacy, as well as business development. Most recently, I've been working very hard since the pandemic to help sustain small businesses in this town and to help bring awareness to those who may be suffering financially. So economic development is #1 on my list, as well as my appointed government position as Commissioner on African American Affairs, visiting policies that are in place currently. And my goal for Richland is to visit those policies that are already in place that pertaining to our public transportation and our public safety for our streets, for our parks, and for our schools. The budget is another concern of mine, because when I look at the budget, I definitely don't see what I do on a daily basis and some of the concerns that I have for this city reflected in our Richland City's budget. The infrastructure and some of the buildings and the development that are already in place, the way that they're deciding to use the land, and some of the economic resources that I currently will see in other cities that I've lived in, I just don't see that here. I would like to see more public facilities that address the drug epidemic and that help to address the homelessness issues that we have in place. When I come together with those and collaborate with other organizations, a lot of the resources that we redirect individuals to that are suffering are not in Richland. They are being directed to other cities. I would like to see Richland have more resources for these individuals and come up with a plan of action to help with this homelessness that is growing. I spend a lot of my own personal dollars housing and purchasing hotels and giving out food cards for food insecurity. This is what I do every day. I have the privilege of driving away from my business, which is in downtown Richland, and watching the homeless sleep on outside of my business, being approached by the homeless every day for food or just for drugs or just dealing with the mental illness right outside of my business. But like I said, I have the privilege of driving to my home 5 to 7 minutes away and looking at the Columbia River. So I understand that some people are removed from certain situations and they don't have to directly deal with them, but that does not make the situation go away. So one of the things that I'm pushing for is more funding for community support services and facilities to help bring solutions to these problems. That is my passion, and I'm definitely going to continue my efforts in advocating for the veterans, advocating for the seniors and the marginalized communities here in Richland. The education disparities, the health disparities, and the financial and wealth disparities that we have are prevalent, not just in Washington State, but it trickles down to us locally. So coming up and helping support solutions to bridge the gap in those disparities will also be one of my #1 priorities. I have a master's degree in business administration with emphasis on leadership and organizational development, as well as I have my degree in cosmetology, and I've owned my own business for over 25 years. I'm currently helping as many as possible. This is my goal this year, to help those who would like to be financially stable and own their own business. I'm currently helping through 6 weeks series, helping to build businesses and helping to help those that are suffering for economic stress so that they can sustain themselves. A lot of people suffered during the pandemic, but there are ways that we can create wealth without having to depend on the everyday job. So just being creative and innovative in some of my approach and some of the solutions to help fix the problems is my goal, and what I will bring to the city with my voice and also with some of my experiences. My election is elect Shawnee Fitzgerald. I do have a website that is up, and if you're able to donate, your donations are greatly appreciated. And I look forward to meeting each and every one of you on the campaign trail and some of our next speaking engagements. Thank you for your time.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, questions for Shawnee? You put one in the chat. Okay. Oh, there's a question here about who your opponent is.
I don't have an opponent. I already won. I do this work every day. But if you look on the ballot, there is a guy by the name of, it's either Bill or Bob and Thompson. I believe he's been there for a couple of years. And then I believe there's another young lady, but this is the work that I'm already doing. So I'm just taking it to the next level. Thank you.
Okay.
I just wanted to say hi, and oh my gosh, I'm so happy for you. And please say hi to Micah for me.
Did you
Karen
get
said-
that?
Can you hear me?
Was that a, oh.
Not a question. I just wanted you to say hi to Micah for me.
Oh, I will. I will tell her. Actually, she was listening to you speak, and congratulations. I'm going to come visit you at the planetarium pretty soon here.
Oh, please do. Thank you so much.
Okay, super cool. More questions for Shawnee? Okay, thank you so much. Did we miss anyone else? Do we have any other candidates that we might have missed earlier?
Yes, sir. Michelle Andrews.
There we go. Please go ahead.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you this evening. If it's just by Zoom, I am also running for Pasco School District, position 5. I was asked to run, and to tell you a little bit about me, I was one of 6 kids, and I actually ended up going to Whitworth University, but I had to put myself through that school with increasing income, and I had to stretch out my time a little bit as well. So a job that I thought I was going to have before my final semester in the summer left me in the position with being without a home and also standing in food lines for a while. And it really put in my heart what I've been raised all my life to do is serve. My family has also taken in people from time to time over the years, and it's one thing to serve, but when you have families come live with you that are struggling, to give them that hand up and move out, it does stay with you. Later on, I became a 7th and 8th grade teacher, all subjects. My students did very well, all different learning styles, all different backgrounds. And from there, or before that, actually, I worked at KXLY before Network News, and when Tom Foley was Speaker of the House. And we were constantly serving the community from that platform. And it was also a platform where we had incredible diversity, incredible joy working together. I've never seen it any different in terms of my own experience watching people reach out and help each other. Later on, I became an admissions counselor, and I did collaborate very much with the professors in special programs. I became, they didn't have anybody that was a transfer admissions counselor for this 4-year school, which means working specifically with students coming from community colleges. And so I started doing that, created a Phi Theta Kappa scholarship for the students. And then we had a vision for the lady that mentioned Habitat for Humanity. And we actually ended up creating a full ride scholarship. And I was a part of that. And part of pulling funds together for that was also putting AmeriCorps service into that scholarship. And then we created a minor degree for any nonprofit service. So if you wanted to go from the medical field and serve in the missions somewhere, like Doctors Without Borders, then you had a minor in how to run a nonprofit because it's very specialized. And that created a very deep collaborative work that carried on with me throughout all of my careers. I also worked at Workforce Investment Act. You have WorkSource here. You also have Career Path Services. I happen to work at the branch in Spokane. So we're always trying to fill those gaps and increase training for various amounts of people. And again, just an incredibly deep and rich diversity throughout all of that. I feel very grateful to be able to continue that. So, and I was also a student tutor all the way through elementary school. So I was asked to run because of my experience with policy. And so I decided to go ahead and do that. There was no one applying on the website. And so I'm happy to be running with two different candidates, very diverse. But I think it's now time for a change. I am very pleased with Pasco School District. I came here before it split into Pasco and Chiawana, saw that transition. And I have grandchildren. I have 8 grandchildren and 2 great-grandchildren. And one is in a different school district. I have 2 that are in the 3rd grade, and one is in the school district here, and one is in the school district in Meade, Washington. And there was a hybrid program in Meade, Washington. And here the online was pretty much the choice. And that was very hard on the teachers. I am surrounded by teachers where I live of all grades. And it was very hard on the kids. And we all know that. But I think now the important thing is the repair and to make sure that there is transparency in funding. And somebody else mentioned it earlier, who negotiates the direction of all of that and the transparency that needs to happen there. A little bit more about my background. My husband is a retired paramedic firefighter for Pasco, 31 years. And so he's in the trades, but he's also worked more than 30 years as a branch manager for an electrician, industrial electrical company. And so we're constantly working with people in the trades as well. And so the students that are going to need that kind of preparation are going to need people that understand that from the application and what's happening in those fields. So that's why I'm running. I'm very excited about being able to serve. I'm also a civil service commissioner for Franklin County. And for those of you that don't know what that is, it is a citizen board that designs and creates the application process and qualifications to be on a list. And it's also kind of check and balance on the sheriff. And we give him only a limited number of names for any position in corrections and road deputies, even clerks. And we're always looking, always looking for a very diverse population as well. We're constantly looking for Spanish speaking and bilingual. I'm with Ms. Phillips. My Spanish is not so good, even though my last name was Figueroa once upon a time. So my daughter is Hispanic and my 2 great-grandchildren are Hispanic. I have a grandson that is Thai. So I appreciate your time. I wish I could be there with you in person. I've had a lot of meetings to respond to upon returning from a week-long vacation that we finally got to go to after waiting for 2 years with COVID. So any questions?
All right, questions for Michelle?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I hate to see such 3 very good candidates running for the same position. Is there any way you guys could choose something else?
Well, my response to that is when you're asked to serve, you serve. And so I think we're all going to have to sort that out there and let the voters decide. I really do appreciate meeting each one because you can learn so much from each candidate, frankly. So I don't know. I see John's picture. I don't know if he actually went to his event and came back, but John, chime in, bud.
Up there.
Okay.
Anyway.
There he is.
Sorry, I just ran back to the table. It's a real privilege to be able to have the chance to serve your community and your community members. And I'm looking forward to a respectful exchange of ideas with my two colleagues running in this position. And I look forward to it.
Great.
Well said.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Okay.
Oh.
All right. Let's see, there it is. Okay, and there's Michelle's information in the chat. So thank you very much for that.
And did I miss any other candidates that are online? I hope not. Okay, well, hearing none, I move we call it a night. How's that work for everybody? Great, thanks so much. Yeah, your dirty dishes can go in that tote that's underneath the table there. And we'll do a little tidying up and call it a night. So thank you very much.
Thank you again, Carl.
Thank you, Carl.
Thank you.
You bet. Thanks for
Good night,
coming.
everybody.
Yeah.